All right, welcome to Talkin' Investing. I am Tom, and as always, this is not financial advice. Today, I want to talk about what Jerome Powell just said. By now, everybody, I'm sure, knows that Jerome Powell just gave about a 10-minute speech, and it's absolutely tanking the stock market. So I want to go through what he said, why he said it, why this was 100% predictable, and what it really means. So I want to jump right into it. Remember to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Feel free to leave a comment below and tell me what you guys think about what Powell said, but I'm going to tell you what he said, and I'm going to tell you why I think that he said it, the way that he said it. So obviously, it was extremely hawkish. It was a very short speech, and he walked out and basically said, you know, in the past I've talked about many different things, and he listed them off. Today I'm going to talk about one thing. So I think we all knew what that one thing was, and that is inflation. So he proceeded to spend the next 10 minutes giving basically a history lesson on inflation, the dangers of inflation, and what the Fed plans to do about it. So the first thing I want to look at is why he's saying this. Okay, so I don't want to get too deep into this. So the Fed has famously a dual mandate, and that, as you can see, is highlighted: maximum employment and price stability. So they have a dual mandate, one of which is employment. Employment is not a burning issue right now. That situation will evolve over time, and he hinted, you know, there's going to be potentially some pain on that side of things, you know, as we fix the other side. But from a dual mandate standpoint, employment is not really an issue right now. What is an issue, what is the main issue, really, not just in the United States, and Powell said this, really around the whole world, is inflation. It's Federal Reserve's mandate to create price stability. In other words, they need to keep inflation, and they've talked about their target inflation rate is 2%. It is nowhere near that right now. So they have a long way to go to get back down to 2%. There's been a little bit of consensus that the Fed maybe was going to get a little more dovish. In other words, stop the tightening and the interest rate rising sooner than maybe expected. This was the most concise speech really in recent history. I'm going to go to a few articles that kind of summarize what he said. Stocks sink after Powell's hawkish Jackson Hole message. So as you can see, right after this, basically during and after this speech, all of the U.S. markets have tanked. Quote, restoring price stability will likely require maintaining a restrictive policy stance for some time, Powell said in his remarks at the gathering in Wyoming. Quote, the historic record cautions strongly against prematurely loosening policy. What's been priced into the futures is that the Fed by the end of the year would no longer be raising interest rates, and sometime in the beginning of next year, they were going to start lowering interest rates. So that perception is something that the Federal Reserve does not want out there. That is not helping their mandate towards trying to lower inflation. I did a special live stream last night on Thursday. We typically do our live streams at Friday afternoon after the market closes, so you're welcome to join us. We will do that again today. But I wanted to do a special one yesterday because one of the things we talked about was the fact that the Federal Reserve only has a limited number of tools. In my opinion, the biggest tool that they have is not even necessarily raising interest rates or quantitative tightening. I mean, those are things that they do and they're doing right now. But the biggest tool they have is to talk the talk. So I predicted yesterday that there would be very, very tough talk today in his speech, because that really is their most effective weapon, because the reality is they can only raise rates so many times. So what they have to try to do is make sure that the rate hikes that they do are effective. And they're not effective if they're doing rate hikes and everybody is saying, well, that's okay because they're going to stop and reverse this, you know, pretty soon. So that's undermining their mission. So it was no surprise whatsoever. It was basically a guarantee that he was going to come out and try to say some scary stuff. And that's basically exactly what I said on the live stream. In the next meeting, which is next month, they will base their decision on the data. But he seemed to indicate that 0.75 was on the table for sure. That's 75 basis point rate hike. Depending on how you interpret what he said, maybe even more than that is on the table. They still very well could do a 0.5 because, again, they can only go so far. So, you know, they've got to pace themselves in some way. But I would not be at all surprised based on what he just said today to see another 75 basis points at the next meeting. This is the SPX, which reflects the S&P 500, and you can see it was just down in a straight line for the next 2 hours. We seem to be potentially finding a little bit of bottoming or sideways activity at the moment. Having said that, on Friday afternoon, oftentimes we see some sell pressure momentum big time later in the afternoon. So if there's a big move to the downside, upside. For me personally, I will be buying into that. So I don't think we're at the bottom yet, and if you've watched my videos, you'll know that I think we're in the process of bottoming out, but we still may hit some lower numbers in the short term. So this is not financial advice. I can't tell you guys what to buy or sell, and obviously I don't know which direction we're going in. All I can do is use my best judgment. So I'm telling you guys what I think. I want to take a look at how this affected Bitcoin. Okay, so this is Bitcoin on the 15-minute time frame. So for those of you who follow the channel, you know we talk about Bitcoin every day, and we also follow the Bitcoin miners quite a bit. So again, remember, if you are interested in that content, remember to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Okay, so let's look what happened to Bitcoin. This is on the 15-minute time frame. So I'm going to start by showing here once again, this is the 10 o'clock candle. So from the beginning of his speech, for the next couple hours, it was pretty much down in a straight line. Now, we did cross a line of support. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit because this blue line is a line that we had held up until this moment. So this was our first line of support. I've given 4 lines of support for Bitcoin. I did say I think this blue line is an optimistic line. It is a line of support, but I did not think that we were going to stop there. But we did get some short-term support from this. So we're at 20,700 right now as I'm speaking. So that essentially is that line that we want to see. Is that going to hold as support? Is Bitcoin going to bounce off of this again today? If Bitcoin's able to regroup in 2 or 3 hours and bounce off of this line and head upward, then I think that would be an extremely strong signal that maybe we are finding support at this line. That is not my expectation. So again, this is not financial advice. I think this was just the catalyst that the market knew was coming and was waiting for to take the next leg down. I do think we're going to head more towards this pink line just under 20,000 or this green line just over 19,000. So I'm still expecting moves in that direction, ultimately, whether it's over the next 2 weeks or the next month. So you can see we've been trading in a very, very tight range. We got to 21,800 and, we've been finding support at 20,700. Even though the next 2 candles have been green, they are still below this line. So now we run the risk of bouncing off of this as resistance. So the rest of today is definitely going to be interesting, and into tonight and into tomorrow, we're going to find out, is this line going to hold? Are we going to balance back above this line and retain this support, or has this now turned into resistance, in which case we'll be heading down towards some of my other price points that I've been talking about on the channel for a while now, the next one of which is just under $20,000. And just so that you guys remember, that was the previous bull cycle high from 2017. Does this line stay as support? The next 4-hour candles, are they going to start closing above this line at 20,700, or is this going to turn into resistance? And I think the answer to that question is going to tell us whether the next leg is up or down in Bitcoin. It's likely to follow whatever the market is doing as well, because the Fed chairman's speech basically affects the entirety of the market. So you can see all of the market is having a very similar reaction today. It will be interesting to see how the rest of the day goes. I will be doing a live stream after the market closes today, so maybe we'll know more then. So you're welcome to join us then. If not, thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video.